Hey everyone, if you're new to my channel, then I'm Rig, and in this channel we discuss tips, tricks and strategies that help SaaS startups go from 0 to 1 million ARR in 12 months or less. And in today's video, we are talking about product document requirements for your SaaS product. You see, having a SaaS idea is not enough. You have to be able to think through the features and capabilities that your product will have before you start designing your screen or write a single piece of code. And in today's video, we are going to discuss that. So the first is understanding the background, the context in which you came up with your SaaS idea. This is a general summary of your product initiative, how you arrived at it, and any other context that the reader or your other developer might need to understand. And just to clarify, we are thinking about these 2 or 3 different things and not screens at the start, because you have to understand that when you are thinking of your product, you're very much inside it, and it's difficult to have a high-level overview of things. When your developers will go on and read your script, if you just start with the different screens and how it should look like, then they might not understand the context in which you've come up with those ideas. And if something does not work out, they would have no understanding of how to solve that problem. However, if you give them the context in which you've come up with the idea, the end outcome you want the customer to achieve, then it's highly likely they might come up with a solution to the problem which might not be the way you had visualized it. So think about your background first, the general summary of the product initiative and how you arrived at it. The second is objective. So think about the problem that your product solves, what you hope to achieve with it, and what are the drivers behind the product. Next is the problem. So describe the problem that is being solved for your customer. This is different from the objective section where you describe what your product does, as this is about what your customers can do with your product. If you've watched my Job to Be Done video, then I talk about how your customers hire your product to achieve an end outcome. And this is the place where you will be talking about what that end outcome is. So it could be automating things for their business or helping them generate more revenue. So think about how customers' lives will be better once they start using your product in this section. The next is value proposition. So value proposition is a simple statement that explains why your customers will choose your product over the competition. So think about what stands out in your product or why you have an edge over other competing solutions in the market. The next is use cases. So you have to think about the different ways in which the customer can use your product. In my Job to Be Done video, I explained how a simple tool that lets you collect testimonials and reviews can be used in 2 different ways. One is to collect referrals, and the second one is to have more SEO optimization. Both the use cases are very different from each other, and how you build the product on top of it will vary in both cases. The next thing is processes. This is the part where you start thinking of screens. And the way I like to think of it is by thinking of the customer onboarding experience. So think about the steps that are going to be there that's going to lead the customer to the main dashboard. Ever since the customer has signed up with the product, what are the questions you are going to ask to display that home screen, or are the customers going to jump straight to the home screen? Think about the onboarding experience. What's the first step, the second step, the third step, and start to think about what are going to be the different screens that are going to be in each of the steps. What are the buttons that are going to be there? What are the questions that you're going to ask? Is it going to be a multiple choice question, or is it going to be a field where the customer can input something? Think about 3 things, think about the error state, think about the filled state, and think about the blank state. So all the 3 are self-explanatory. So what are the possible errors that can have and how you want your tool to handle that? What if customer has not input anything, might click a button? What will happen if the customer has input something, and whether that should show you an error, whether that should return you something, and all those different scenarios. You also want to consider things like, let's say if you have a tool that calls a user from a WhatsApp group and texts some message to them. The customer, let's say inside of your tool, inputs or calls a particular user that's not in a WhatsApp group. So do you want that particular user that the customer has called to be added in the WhatsApp group and then texted something, or do you want your tool to show an error message? So think about all these different things. After step 1, step 2, step 3, let's say you come to the main page, the dashboard. There you want to very clearly think about what are the different options that are going to be displayed, what are the different sections that are going to be there, and things like that. Now, it's important to note that this is just for one type of user that you're creating the screen. most likely the person who is going to most use the tool. When I say type of user, you have to think about whether your tool has a main admin and then other team members who have access to some things and not access to the others. So this is for one type of user. You want to again think through all the different types of users that your tool is going to have, and then create these onboarding steps and this homepage dashboard for all of those different users. You also want to think about the super admin dashboard, which is what are the things that you will have access to inside of the customer's dashboard. So if your customer runs into some problem without asking for their password and login, what are the things that you should be able to get access to? Don't worry, this is just the place where you are brainstorming everything and putting everything down on paper. You're of course not going to build all of these things at once. You're only going to pick up one or two top priority features and capabilities that will comprise your minimum viable product. You also want to think about the settings tab, where there are going to be options for payment methods, very important, the login, password, connected apps, support, and all of those different things. So this is the main part, where you think about the processes. The next is release phases. So like I mentioned, you're not going to build all of these things at once. There are probably going to be phases where you're going to launch these things. Think about what is the minimum viable product that you want to get started with, and then outline all the phases of versions relevant to the product that you're going to launch in future. Of course, if you are not the person who is going to code this thing, you want to talk to your developers and then make sure that you and the developer is on the same page. The last bit is goals and success criteria. So here you want to think about the KPIs that will measure if your product or the first phase of your launch, the second phase and the third phase, all the different phases were successful. So think about things like maybe new signups, new unique visits, new product activation moments. You want to think about what those things are going to be and what will success look like for these different release phases that you're planning. So those are the 8 different steps. You want to think about the background, the context in which you've come up with the idea. You want to think about the objectives. What is it that the product solves? You want to think about the problem. So what is it that the customers can achieve with your product? What is the end outcome that they can achieve, or how will life be better after using your product? Then you want to think about the use cases. So how can customers use your product? Then you want to think about the processes. So think about the onboarding, then come to the main page, and then think about the settings. You want to then repeat this process for all the different type of users that are going to use this tool. Then there is the release phases. So what are the different phases in which your product will release? And the last is goals and success criteria. So listing down the KPIs, when will you call this product launch or your different product launches a success? So that's all for this video. I hope you found it useful. As always, this is Mrig, and I'll see you in the next one.